He thought she was a stranger, another face from the wild lands, standing beneath the burning desert sun with eyes that dared him to remember. But when she spoke his name in that soft, trembling voice, the world around him stopped. "You don't remember me, cowboy. I'm the girl you loved as a child." And in that instant, the years between them, the wars, the hatred, the borders drawn by blood and land, vanished like dust in the wind. What started as a forgotten memory would soon become a love story that defied every law of the frontier, and left the town talking for generations. The dust rose softly around his boots as Jack Callahan rode into Dry Creek, a lone figure against the morning sun. The town hadn't changed much in the years he'd been gone. Same wooden storefronts, same creaking signs, same smell of horse sweat and tobacco hanging thick in the air. He was bone-tired from weeks on the trail, his horse worn thin, but there was comfort in the familiar clatter of wagon wheels and the lazy sound of a saloon piano drifting through the street. He tied his horse to the rail outside the general store and stretched his sore back, ready to grab supplies and maybe a drink before heading home. That was when he saw her. She stood near the town well, still and unbothered by the noise around her. The breeze caught the edge of her dress, lifting the dust from her feet, and her long dark braid shimmered with tiny beads that glinted in the sunlight. Her skin was warm bronze beneath the shade of her hat, and her eyes, sharp, deep, unblinking, were fixed on him. Jack froze where he stood, feeling something he couldn't name stirring deep inside his chest. There was a pull, a strange familiarity that made him look twice. She smiled faintly, a knowing kind of smile. "You don't remember me, do you, cowboy?" Her voice was soft, musical, carrying through the bustle of the street like a whisper only he could hear. Jack frowned, pulling off his hat. "Can't say I do, ma'am. Have we met?" She took a step closer, her eyes never leaving his. "Once, long ago, by the river, when we were children. You gave me water and called me your friend." He opened his mouth to deny it, but the words caught in his throat. Images came rushing back, blurred by time, the dusty banks of the Pecos River, the laughter of a little girl with dark hair, the sound of his mother calling him home before the sun set. He remembered her giving him a small carved stone, shaped like a bird, and him promising, like only a child could, to marry her one day. His heart began to pound. "Lena," he whispered, the name tasting like a memory. She smiled wider, eyes glistening. "So you do remember." Jack took a slow step back, the weight of realization hitting him. She had been part of the Apache camp that once lived beyond the ridge before the soldiers came. He'd thought they were gone forever, scattered or worse. Now she stood before him, grown, graceful, and impossibly real. "You shouldn't be here," he said, glancing around. The shopkeepers were already staring, the sheriff's eyes narrowing from across the street. "This town's not safe for your kind." "I didn't come for the town," she said softly. "I came for you, Jack." The words silenced him. For a heartbeat, all the noise around them faded, the wagons, the wind, the world. He saw only her, but the old hatreds of Dry Creek ran deep, and the past they shared was a secret the town would never forgive. Jack could already feel the tension building in the air, like thunder waiting over the horizon. Whatever brought her here, it wasn't over yet, and neither was what they once were. For a long moment, Jack couldn't move. The sun beat down on his shoulders, hot and blinding, but he barely felt it. All he could see was her, the woman who had once been a barefoot girl by the river, laughing at him when he'd slipped in the mud. Time had changed her face, carved new strength into it, but the eyes were the same, deep, steady, and far older than they should have been. He swallowed hard. "Lena, I thought you were gone. After the soldiers." Her expression didn't change, but her voice carried a quiet ache. "We were. My people scattered. Many didn't survive. I left when I was 15, taken north by a family that hid me. I learned to live among your people, but I never forgot who I was." She looked up at him then, her gaze piercing. "And I never forgot you." Jack's breath caught. He remembered that summer, the last one before everything went bad. He'd been just a boy, but he'd known what kindness felt like. They'd shared stolen apples, stories about the stars, and childish promises made under the sound of crickets. But the raids had come, and the army with them, driving the Apache from the valley. His father had helped burn their camp. Jack had never forgiven himself for standing there, too scared to stop it. Now, that ghost stood before him. He took a slow breath, lowering his voice. "You shouldn't have come back, Lena. This town, these people, they won't see you the way I do." She tilted her head slightly, her dark braids sliding over her shoulder. And how do you see me, Jack? He looked away, jaw tightening. As a reminder of what I couldn't change. Something flickered across her face, sadness, maybe, but not surprise. I didn't come for pity, she said quietly. I came because the land they took from us, it's being sold again. My people still have a claim. I thought maybe you'd help me speak to them. The men here trust you. Jack's heart sank. The ranchers of Dry Creek hated the Apache more than they feared drought or death. If she tried to claim anything, they'd drive her out, or worse. Lena, he said, his tone soft but grave, if they find out who you are, they'll come after you. They don't care about claims or fairness. She stepped closer, her voice calm and unshaken. Then I'll stand with someone who does. He stared at her, torn between reason and something deeper, that old feeling, buried and unwanted, rising up again like a stubborn flame. Around them, the town kept moving, but slower now. A few men had stopped to stare openly, whispering to one another. Jack noticed Sheriff Duggan watching from the saloon doorway, his hand resting on his belt. Go, Jack said under his breath. Meet me at the old river bend tonight. We'll talk there. Lena hesitated, searching his face for a lie, then gave a small nod and turned away. The crowd's murmur followed her as she walked down the dusty street, the sun catching the beads in her hair until she disappeared beyond the livery stable. Jack stood there for a moment, his hands shaking slightly. He hadn't seen her in 15 years, but it felt like the world had stopped spinning the moment she said his name. He could still hear her voice in his head, soft and steady, I came for you, Jack. But as he turned back toward the saloon, he saw Duggan watching him, eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. The sheriff spat into the dust and said, loud enough for others to hear, didn't know you were keeping company with Apaches again, Callahan. Jack froze. The murmurs grew louder, and in that instant he knew, the quiet life he thought he'd built was over. Lena's return hadn't just awakened an old memory, it had stirred the ghosts of a war that had never truly ended.